sorry, we were interrupted by Derek's comments over here.
Who can share something great that happened in the past 7 days?
I did my triathlon. That was
Yeah.
Congratulations. How hard was it?
hard. I'm gonna do more, but yeah, it was good.
Is there a moment that you thought about giving up?
Mile one of the run. My leg like was rock, and I was like,
He
run
goes
is
to run
first,
last.
right? The run is last.
But he finished so strong, he came zooming in. It was awesome.
There you go.
Zoom, zoom.
Zooming. Yeah, we have it on video.
I took my daughter on her very first college visit. That was terrifying. No, it was good. It was really good. It was a beautiful college. Northwestern.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she loves it. That's
Really?
sounds like it's gonna be awesome on the podcast. University. Yeah. No, it's actually gorgeous. Gorgeous campus.
My daughter's apartment is 1 mile from
At Northwestern?
No, she's not going to Northwestern. She's
Yeah, and those houses are like stunning. So of course I'm like driving through there, it's like, oh, we should just buy a house like here that you can just like rent to your friends. Like this sounds like a great idea. And then I immediately, it was like, oh, those houses are really expensive. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Good time for just her and I down there.
Advice Jordan Welly did that now.
I know she did.
Young lady owns her own house and got 4 tenants.
We're awesome.
We have one good thing.
That's fun.
Well, one that I can think of. Yesterday, we scheduled a closing for June 30th, a transaction that has taken 2.5 years. So remember where our old office was? That piece of crap. Right behind it, there were open lots. And so my client's building a $2 million condo with Pillar Homes, and real dickhead from a different company caused a lot of trouble. It's still frustrating.
Let's just keep it.
I know.
Okay. The positive thing.
Can't say anything. Somebody come up with a- So they had to move the building. The building was built, framed. They had to pick it up. It's 2 units, $2 million each, so it's $4 million worth of real estate. They had to pick it up, move it 6 feet towards our old office, towards those townhouses, and start rebuilding.
So what was the good thing that happened?
Well, we scheduled the closing for June
Okay.
30th, and it's going to close after 2.5 years of work.
That's awesome.
That is
That's
awesome.
good.
A long.
What else?
So it's summertime, and I like to take summer and do summer. And
What does that mean to you, Kevin?
well, this is the success.
Top off the Bronco.
Yeah, that's all done. But I went out to DC last week. I came back on Thursday night, got up Friday morning for a closing. Then I came back here. That's this week. Now this week I have a listen appointment, and then I'll be gone for like 8 days, and then I'll take the listen. I'll take the listen. Okay. And then when I come back, then I have another listing appointment already scheduled. So last time came, he said, well, it's not that you shouldn't take your vacation, it's just you didn't plan out, anything besides your 1 month. Now I've been planning out, how do I do a life by design as well?
You also find when you live the life by design, like business actually seems to work out. Like when it's planned, it comes to you during those moments.
Right, it just kind of lines, just,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome. What else? What else we got?
So, the house we got under contract this weekend is for one of my friends. She's getting married on Friday. So I'm just throwing everything at her, but then they're going on like a 2.5.
Please tell me the
Europe.
inspection is on like Thursday.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Okay.
It was flawless. It was fabulous. And it was a list price. We didn't have to go over because everyone's gone during Father's Day. It's a great weekend to.
You use wouldn't the best wedding present be a new house?
Yeah, she said everything's like we'll wait till after, and then they did it, and they're going on a 2.5 week vacation in Europe for their honeymoon, and then they come back like 3 days later and they're closing. So.
Awesome. That's awesome. Super cool. Amy, can you share here something good one more time? Yes, Amy. Like here's like, it's so good. It's so good.
I had my first open house on Sunday. Really well, there's a lot of people there. I have 3 open houses, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I have my first listing, signed Monday for $1 million.
How long have you had your license?
2 weeks.
9 weeks.
So she's killing it. So I was texting everybody about impact the other day and I was like, yeah, so how many appointments did you hold and da, da, da. And I was like, oh, thinking like, oh, maybe this number was wrong, right? Because like it was the top number until Rick came in and she was like, oh, 9 appointments held. And I was like, it actually said 9 appointments held. And I'm like, wow, incredible. So you're doing awesome. Really awesome thing. All right. Moving on, we're gonna go into the ALC portion first. Oh, do you want to talk about training calendar?
We had training calendar numbers first and then ALC.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. That sounds great. So let's talk about the training calendar.
We're flexible.
Yeah, we are so flexible. Like,
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
okay, so I think every time we have this meeting, I talk about this training calendar, which by the way, thank you, Lydia. It has been a lot easier when you guys go in to click and just go right to the Eventbrite. I hope that you guys believe that that's easier for you as well. So any of the things that are going on here, just click on it and sign up that way. And I know some stuff you don't necessarily need to sign up for, but please do, right? Because we just want to know how many people are going to be either in this room or if it's at a different venue so that we know, even if it's free, right? We just wanted to have a count, like a head count for if there's anything food related there. Today, we had our batting practice, we have our team meeting, we have our block party right after this, which is being put on by the Desserts, the dessert team, and it's gonna be pizza inside, so we are not gonna be outside, so awesome there. And then we are gonna continue kind of the social aspect and culture aspect with R&R happy hour starting at 4. Rick, do you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Now that's at.
Northern Tap House.
Oh.
It has its own vibe.
House?
Northern Tap House. yeah.
Northern Tap House thing.
Yep.
Now, Northern Tap House, it's right down the
It's not
street,
bad.
was Grizzlies. And yeah, they do have an outdoor patio, be based on the temperature, it might end up inside, which is super cool also. If you went to it last time, it was really fun. You went to Candy Run, but we had a good amount of people there and it was really good conversation. So we'd like to be able to do the same.
So the positive thing about it too is it's really about conversation, network building, what's going on in the market, opportunities like open houses, opportunities that teams have, what's going on new for some of the agents as well. So the reason that it's R&R is so that it's not just happy hour, right? It's not just to have, the cocktails are great, but if you don't drink, it's nice to just be able to connect and network with people.
It is. It makes a big difference too. We've talked about this, that, we see people here, like I'm seeing people here that I recognize, but I don't spend any time with them. So this is an opportunity to do that. And it's, agents that have been here for a very long time and brand new agents, so it's really, really cool to just talk to people socially. Good.
Awesome. We do have a few other things that I know. We've got Perry's coming up on Thursday, which is for the wealth building. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. And it is a monthly meeting, including trainings, specifically geared toward wealth building. And I feel that the classes will be kind of cumulative in effect. So attending the first meeting will be important for setting you up for attending the next meetings. And we are talking about filling out and keeping a personal financial statement, which is important for life and personal finances. It's also important for acquiring financing for future properties for you. And then he's also talking about the debt snowball and what impact that could have on
Eric, if someone was not able to make it to one of those cumulative classes, will those be recorded so that they can see those on the YouTube channel potentially?
Andy?
Yes, they will be.
Awesome.
Derek, just setting you up there for all that.
Yeah. just say,
Yes, it will.
Andy? Awesome. How do you register for these?
If they don't have a QR code, you're just supposed to show up. So they'll, be on our Facebook page, so you can go back and check that.
I do believe that most of these are gonna be on the collective website. So any of the
Yes.
communities that are happening will be on the collective website. So that's the other piece. If you are like, what are the trainings that are happening? We obviously have office specific trainings, but all of the collective trainings, which are quite a few of these, will be on that site and also a clickable calendar on there.
Be able to register.
So, and also if you're like, what does communities mean? We've kind of across the 5 offices, have done like, KWYP is also one, Wealth Building is one. They're doing their own meetings. You don't have to necessarily go to every single one. But it might be nice to say, you know what, I'd like to be a part of this, this community as well, learn a little bit more about it. They're kind of tapping into that in the next week or next month or two, and who wants to really join these. And be a part of it long term. So again, if you have interest in any of them, I would say, you know, show up the next few months to the meetings just to see if it's something that you're interested in doing, as well as a piece of networking.
You know, something we talked about yesterday as well is the importance of attending the things. And it's also about building a network of people who are also attending those things and forming relationships with those people so that your conversations with those people and really with everybody, your clients, your family, like the conversations you have can be then transmitted out to these other people so that you have a dialogue and understand the language that people are talking about when they're talking about these things. So
I also think, especially for the Wealth Building one that's here, nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, there are a lot of people that don't just invest on their own, right? All the very successful investors that I know kind of around this city that I've networked with end up putting pools together, pools of money, or they throw each other investment opportunities because it's something that they know they can't do alone, or they want to do with somebody, or they're just not interested in that right now. I think that's what's going to be really cool about that group. Is it's going to provide opportunities that you might think you never were able to have because you have other people to do it with. Whether or not it's, hey, watch Derek do a flip, or, look at his P&Ls for his investment properties, or potentially, Carrie might say, hey, does somebody want to invest in a duplex with me? Who knows? It's going to give opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise with a large group of people. Also, this,
Sorry.
so the Young Professionals is also tomorrow. It is also here at 3 o'clock. So if you're interested in either one of those, you can kind of do both of them tomorrow right here in this office. Next is DEI, which is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The launch party is on Monday. And that is from 2 to 2:45. Well, look at that. That's here too. So essentially every single community meeting is here. So again, that's going to be them kind of going over what their mission is, as well as what they want to be involved in. So if it's something that interests you, that's again Monday, the 26th, 2 to 2:45. Luxury, this is a little bit different too. This is going to be a panel. So this one is actually at the Glass House, and I know that you do need to register for this one because the seats are pretty limited. And it's going to have Cindy Freud, Michael Caslow, and Lasha. And they all have very different perspectives on what luxury means. This is going to be a panel on luxury service, essentially, not just luxury properties. So it's kind of geared around what is it like to give a customer service experience that feels luxury no matter what price point. So they did a really good job on finding multiple price point agents for that particular panel. And then tutor of the day, as always, this is an opportunity for you to contact them with any of the questions that you might have. And this is also found on any of the TVs outside. We already went through R&R, there it is.
There's another demo. Okay,
All
I'm
right,
gonna do these. Yep.
just right here. Oh, okay, so we're going through main numbers, but we've got our closing for Jordan and David Johnson. We're clapping. And now, with the cultural award.
Yeah, so, when I think of like KW and culture, like one thing I just love about it is everybody's willingness to share and, give up their time and their energy and, things that have worked for them. And so this is really hard to like give away. But I decided to, give it to Angie Toomey because she just started doing mastering conversations and providing that service, for everybody in the office to join in. And I don't think her here, so.
Awesome. All right, so top individuals. Again, let's make sure that when we're looking at these numbers, we're not going to go over year this time. We're just really celebrating our agents today. But there's some really cool numbers in May, some really cool numbers. So top listings taken, we have Scott Nagel, Paul Steele, top individuals with closed volume. We have Scott Nagel with 1.5, Middleton with 1.3, and Tierney with 5. The closed GCI, Scott is in the number 1 spot, followed by Middleton and Louise, and then Eric. Top teams for listings taken, Cole and Company with 4. 1.1, the Cole and Company, and the Wyland Group with 899. Total volume for May, we have 2.1 with Cole and Company. Closed GCI, Cole and Company is in the Then you have home selling team and the Wyland Group. All right, so top groups. Okay, I know that there has to be a smile on your face for some of these. Bethany Nelson team. Listing taken is the Bethany Nelson. Yeah. Volume, we got team at 5.4. All right, closed volume we have in May. We have 6 million. You guys, those are like incredibly amazing numbers. Incredibly amazing. I remember going through numbers even when I was at the Lakes office, and it was like everyone was over 1 million for closed volume. This is incredible. Like, those are incredible numbers. All right, closed GCI, Sarempa team in the number 1 spot. So excited about that. Like, are you guys tired? Are you excited? Is the pipeline good? Y'all are smiling still. Right? Awesome. Right, Derek. Okay, so, part of the ALC meeting, if you guys haven't been to an ALC meeting, it's kind of a business conversation between myself and, the ALC members. We have been reading this book, which is, Know What You're For. Mine is a little bit tattered, obviously. And we read a section of it every single month. So we always start out our ALC meeting. And again, if you haven't read this book, it's a pretty easy read. And it's one, I think, when the market is shifting or anything is kind of going on in your business, it's one that brings you back to, why am I doing this? Or at least asks you the questions of, what do I want to be known for in this? Because I think we get lost. We get lost when we're super busy, or we get lost when we're kind of in a slump, right? So it's a reminder of, what do we need to be doing, and what are we standing for? So this month, it kind of went into some different topics. Some of it was about meetings. I think we all have different views on what we like and what things that we don't about the book. This one, there was probably, I didn't get as much out of this portion of the reading as I did some of the other portions. But I'd like to know what your guys' ahas are about this section. Derek, you were really excited about it. Let's start with you.
I'd like to have Jelena give a little bit of an overview.
Back to the norm.
It was, I guess, the biggest takeaway, and I don't have my book and I don't remember the exact, or that, yes, was a vision not communicated is a vision forgotten, or a vision not, it wasn't even vision, it
No,
was,
it's-
thank you.
Is it appreciation? Is that the word?
No, it was your. We were talking about, it was talking about Chick-fil-A and how, they, after you say, a customer says thank you, they respond with my pleasure, right? And it would be easy to mandate that, but instead of mandating it, he decided to, go over that again and again and again. And it might take 3 years or 5 years or 10 years to get that actually implemented with all of the people who work in your organization. And it's just communicating your vision over and over again is important, because if it's not continuously repeated, it's forgotten. So that was my biggest takeaway from the book. You didn't think I read it, did you?
Great job of summarizing the chapters. Always.
That wasn't a summary event.
You really didn't think I read that?
No, it's okay. I said that you didn't like it because the first part that we read led off with meetings and how a lot of times meetings are like, it's literally about filling time and people going into them without a purpose and without clearly defined goals. And when talking about, I'm going to screw this up, talking about the how rather than the who, or no, talking about the what rather than the who and the why. And I just, because I know that a lot of times there are a lot of meetings and I see the leadership march through and I just think like, oh my God, like this is the 5th meeting of the day, right?
Yep.
Right? So I thought maybe that could have been a reason why it didn't resonate with everybody. An interesting point about the, about Chick-fil-A, I'm sorry, about, what's the name of the other company, the chicken company?
Popeyes.
Thank you. The new CEO took over Popeyes and asked the franchisees about what their impressions were. And when she went into it, she asked them how, like, what do they make themselves for lunch? And inevitably, they talked about a mishmash of stuff that they put together for themselves to make their own lunch, and how these things maybe really are great for the company, and it doesn't come out of corporate as a new squeeze cheese to put on something. It's literally using the ingredients that are present at the store and making their own innovative lunch out of it, and then how to take that back to the company and distribute it throughout the company, which I thought was kind of interesting. So
happening, not just with our office, but the collective and anything else, change is really difficult, right? Change is difficult because it's not always, it's not comfortable, right? It's not what you're used to, and then you're like, ooh, I don't know what to expect. And sometimes we don't know what to expect with the change. But if you're not innovating and you're not always changing, you are going to be so outpaced by other companies, right? And so I think that piece is important, where it's always the innovation of what can be new, what can be done differently, because no matter what you're doing, there are things that you're doing really great, but there are things that can be done better, and there can be things added to that, right? And it might just be day to day too, is what's my mindset going into each day? I nailed Monday, but then I was exhausted by Tuesday, and there has to be some sort of consistency, right? So I think that piece is huge on the innovation portion of it, because it goes across any company. It goes across businesses, goes across restaurants. You have to always be innovating. Rick, you had something to say.
I want to support, what stood out for me is what Jelena had already mentioned in there, and what it made me think about, is a continuous reminder and a continuous verbalization of what our big why is, like what the team's mindset is, what's most important to us. And, you know, when you look at the numbers, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but our name's not on there at all for the entire month, which is probably the first time ever, that our name's not up there. And so May was a difficult month, and during the difficult times, that's when the pursuit of income can take over what the business, what the model of the business is and why you're actually doing this. Because all of a sudden you get a little stressed and you're like, wow, we really need to make money. How do we do that any way that we can? And unfortunately, that's not the way to maintain the strength to get through what is most important to you. So the reason why Chick-fil-A is most successful, in my opinion, because of the mindset of the owners, it didn't ever change. They said, this is what we want. This is what we're going to get, because this is what's best for other people. And they never left that. They just stuck with it. So the idea is, don't forget. And so we talk on the team, it's like, let's remember, what is our big why? What is our mindset on the Brown Real Estate? What comes first? Who comes first? And why? You know, just continuously multiple times throughout the month, connect with each other and be sure that we're staying on that track, because it's so easy to go off that track, you know?
Well, and get into your own head of like, when you were just saying, like, where are we gonna make money? Or, you know what I mean? It can go into almost a poor me situation of like this spiral, unless you're reminded why you do what you do.
Why you do it in the first place.
And that's what's
mindset
important
right.
is, you know why you do what you do. And sometimes that changes, right? And that's okay too, where it might be edited or it might be shifted or pivoted a little bit, but always revisit that portion of it.
There's one other piece then, more along the lines of what Derek had mentioned about meetings, is yesterday was Sven. Raise your hand if you were Sven yesterday. Okay. So yesterday was Sven. One of the things that stood out to me, which is what we do, and it was great to hear that and have it supported. We wanted to talk a little bit more about it. But if you're going to do a meeting, figure out what the value of that meeting is. He said any listing appointment is valued at $25,000, half of one side of the transaction. They figured out this is what it's worth to us when they figured out all their numbers. So he says, if I'm going to go in and I potentially earn $25,000 in the future as a result of success in this meeting, then I sure as heck better be prepared. And that preparation for the meeting is absolutely critical. So rather than having 5 meetings scheduled on your day, well, what 3 meetings are you going to go to and how are you going to prepare for it? So don't show up at Sven's meeting yesterday like, oh, I can't wait to just hear a bunch of stuff. Like, how about study luxury a little bit, study, you know, high-end real estate, look at what's going on with the numbers in the market, and then go to Sven's meeting. You know, and like the listing presentation, it just brought up all these things about why not be fully 100% prepared. The agent we just did a transaction with from a different team who spoke, she clearly goes to listing appointments unprepared. We talked about there's a significant difference. If the meeting's important, you know, prepare for it so that you can be successful with it. Make sense? Don't just go and fill time. You know,
Yes, and I would also agree with, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get out of that meeting,
Yep.
but what you need to reflect on is what am I having a challenge with? And you just have to go in open-minded. Because I think if you go in with a specific all of the time, you don't hear the things that might not be pertaining to that, but it might flip a different idea, right? So I think the best part of going into a meeting like with Sven, right? Because some of you might not know a ton about him, or there's other meetings that you go into that you might not completely know the people there or what they're actually gonna provide, but have the open mind to be like, how can this help me, my business, and my clients, right? Is there something in here I can take to provide to my clients that this person is doing really well?
I agree. There's definitely a difference between going to something you're gonna learn and get educated. Going to something that you already are a professional and an expert in.
Yeah.
And it's your objective to be successful in that meeting.
Yeah.
Like a listing presentation, a buyer consult, a networking event.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go to a networking event, this is just, I mean, it just brings out all these super exciting ideas. We went to a couple of networking events last year, luxury networking events. We knew who was attending those luxury events, so you get on Google and Wikipedia and Facebook and you have Jordan look up everybody and figure out who all of them are, create a booklet of who these people are, and you go to the networking event, now you know who these people are that you're about to run into.
This reminds me so much of The Devil Wears Prada.
I was gonna say that.
Jordan's right here with the book, and she's like, no, that's actually Jacqueline Day. Jacqueline, I'm Rick Brahma.
But isn't that hard? What did you think about it? If you're gonna go somewhere and you're gonna meet people, it would be probably good to know, something about them. Same with a listing appointment. Why would you not look up who that seller is? Why would you? It's so easy to find out who people are. Get an idea where these people are coming from before, and then.
Side note, it is so easy for them to find out who you are, by the way. So whatever you're putting out there, trust me, they know that times 5, right? Because now they also found out who they're mutual friends with. They have some mutual friends. You know this person, like people know everything that's happening.
Yeah. And yesterday, one thing I wrote down about him, he said, he always goes to his appointments and he asks them first, like, what is it that you would like to get out of this meeting today? And so that kind of goes to your point too. You can think about that before you go to something like, what do I want to get out of this meeting or out of this training? So that you go in there with like a purpose, which I thought was kind of transfers all over.
Yeah, we talk about that as our team all the time.
You guys are talking.
Here's my board. I think that on the flip side, I think sometimes I've seen, depending on your personality type, my high Cs on my team will over prepare. And then it turns into presentation mode versus actually consultation. And I think that by starting every meeting, we start every meeting that way, including our seminars. We led a seminar last night. And the first thing I do is put a flip chart up and I say, what do you want to get out of tonight? Because at the end of the day, if we don't answer the questions they have, we've just talked at them. And personally, as a high D myself, I would prefer not to present. So if they're like, we just want you to tell me how much my home is worth and when we can get it on the market, bada bing, bada boom, I'm not going through my presentation. We're going straight to the variables. So if you start the conversation that way, you can actually cut down on your appointment time.
It's funny, in this book, during the meeting section, they talk about when they're going to their business meetings, what do you want out of a meeting? And they said, well, we can tell you what we don't want. We don't want a PowerPoint because you're just telling us we don't have any of the answers if it's in a PowerPoint fashion. So it's very similar to that. What do you want?
So it would make a lot of sense. This is real. I'm actually going to ask this question right now because I do think it's fascinating. The meetings prior to being on the ALC that I didn't really enjoy going to the ALC meetings. They're kind of boring. The people up front talk. So I'm going to ask a serious question. What do you guys want to get out of this meeting? You obviously knew it was ALC for me. Okay, track. But otherwise you're here.
First of all, you don't like to use the word trapped in any training.
I'm just playing out there, I mean, but yeah, you can always get up, but you're here for a reason. A couple people share, what is it you want to get out of a meeting? Why do you come to these meetings? That the ALC is here. We're going to go through the team meeting and talk about culture today.
I come to support my coworkers and also to get encouraged too. So seeing everyone's numbers and seeing how Kevin's like planning out his summer and keeping momentum, that's really encouraging to me for someone who struggles with see. So just to see like that playbook is possible, and I just need to be better. I need to flip the page or whatever. So
Second that, piggyback off of it, saying that it's helpful to hear different perspectives from different agents that, you know, whether it's a solo agent, you run a team, you're more in luxury or whatever, I think it's super helpful just to have those varying perspectives for things that maybe my team and I would think.
I actually like the different books that you guys go through because there's so many different perspectives from outside the real estate world that can add to what we're doing. So I like hearing real world real estate.
I think that's a huge thing to focus on. I think we follow a lot of the real estate books all the time, but really get outside the real estate realm for books and go into the leadership portion or just business mindset portion, because that brings a whole different concept how you run your business.
I think it's good to hear from the top 20% on their goals, and some months they really exceed them and some months they're a little behind them, and that not everyone exceeds them every single month, and that you're real and what are you doing if you're maybe not quite where you want to be. And still, on the whole opposite side, if you're really exceeding it, what are you still doing? I think it's nice to hear the reality of what the top agents are doing, and gives us all the understanding that, yeah, we can do it, and some months aren't always the same as others.
There was a quote today in Impact, which is the like 60-day course that we're doing as a collective, and it talked about failure, and I think that brings up a really good point. And maybe this is my mindset, and it might not be other people's mindset, but I like hearing about people's failures sometimes more than their successes, because I think as you go on social media or anywhere else, you see so many successes, and what you don't see is the failures that got them there. Part of the quote, I don't remember.
What date was it again?
It's hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried. And I think I actually posted about it today too, where like the failure is actually the stepping stone to the success, right? I don't know a ton of people that are just successful. And each little stepping stone is the failure that allowed you to pivot to get to that larger thing. And we have this mindset that failure is so bad, and it's not. Truly, if you're not failing, I can almost guarantee your success will never be as great as what it should be or what it could be. Like what the potential that's there would never be reached without more and more failures. And trust me, I fail every single day, and I fail as a parent, I fail in this role, I fail every day. Some people let me know it more than others, but like it gets me to the next level, right? And I failed in real estate the same way. I lost clients. I, didn't get commissions because I forgot different quotes or clauses or whatever. Like it all happens. And I think we live in this kind of small mindset of, oh, I'm the only one that happens to, and now I can't move on, right? That's not true. All these people you would look at and say are successful, and I guarantee that they've failed a lot. And I think that's the biggest piece, is when you actually share those failures. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, and it allows you to grow, it allows us to grow, and it allows you to grow.
I can remember my first year as a teacher, and Jake and I would coach, or he would coach me often, right? And I said, Jake, I'm not used to failing. Like I just did that, and he's like, that's your problem. Is that your first time? And I think some of us are so afraid of failure that we do the oops, I'll never do that again, right? And instead, it's the people that, and if we end that way, then it's really a failure, right? There are failures, but if we go, I've learned from this that now I just have to tweak that and get to that spot, that's where failure comes powerful. There is something about you just fail all the time. that's not, I think, what we're saying go after, right? But it's about a spot of how do I fail, evaluate and adjust. How do I fail, evaluate and adjust? And that was something that, I mean, I just bring weight on myself sometimes that I struggle with that piece of going. One of the things, so I'm gonna go back to what this Bethany taught me, we can talk about with Bethany. I'm not sure if this was a section of the book or not, where it brought it back with it, but you did something in team meeting a while ago where you said, hey, who are we, right? And I'm not sure this was that section, but that's something I've been processing a lot of, like, who is Kevin Campbell, realtor business that you work with, right? And then another piece that we had, if you guys went to the MAR event, and they talked about, this picture, there are a number of pre-COVID pictures on there, right? And then there's like if we were to do this again, we would adjust that because things had changed a little bit from after COVID. And then Bethany said to me after working out, being all sweaty and coming in and doing the office, she goes, yeah, I just met with my clients. And you know what? I realized they don't care how this piece shows up. There's a professionalism in how I do my business, how I do it, right? And there's maybe a way you have to present yourself in order to get the client. But when you're working with the client, there's something about being authentic and real and showing up in a way that this is how I am and I do business. And I think that's something that I just go, yeah, how do I not chase the dollar, right? But how do I authentically show up in a way I want to do this because I want these things that I want in life. So I have to have the business that gives me this. But if this becomes my focus of I need the dollar and I lose, well, this is what that dollar's for, that's where all that stress comes back on me. And I'm like, wait, I hate life, business fine, but I hate it, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I kind of go that spot of what is that culture? Who is the Campbell Real Estate team business, right? And who do I want us to be? And how do I show up in that way authentically so that I'm getting the life that I truly want? And this real estate is not my life, right? And so how do we get to that spot?
Can I piggyback on that? I think really quick, I don't go to a first meeting sweaty. I think that you earn the right to show up like that, where my clients know, hey, if I'm gonna meet with you short notice, my priority is I have a commitment to a workout at this time. I'm happy, and I will tell them, I'm coming straight from a workout, or I'm coming from this. And I've earned that, right? It's not just I show up for a first meeting that way. But what I will say, there's a book called The Desire Map, not real estate related, highly recommend it. Because I have wrapped my identity for a very long time in like my numbers and production and what do my clients think of me. And this book, the concept, to give you the cliff notes, is when we wrap our identity in something like that, it's because we desire to feel something, right? It's I want to feel, let's just say, successful. Well, at the end of the day, even after I'd have a big number, big month or something, I still didn't feel successful. It was this goal of a metric to feel a certain way. And the concept of the book is, what if instead you said, this is how I want to feel. So I want to feel successful. Great, let's break it down. What causes you to feel successful on a daily basis? And you actually create your goals around your feeling versus create or hope to have a feeling around goals. It has completely changed how I set my goals and how I want to show up, because I don't want to keep chasing the carrot anymore. Like, I've done that for 12 years and it hasn't served me. So highly recommend that book, and would encourage you, if you can relate to that isn't even just business related. Like, I joke about this in social media, so I feel like I can say it, like, dating sucks, and trying to like.
What if you changed your perspective on that?
Derek's like, well, we'll talk about that. Here's Derek's couch.
Right, like, okay, if I want to feel those feelings, they're a way that I can feel love through my family, through my friends, whatever, that isn't through that relationship, right? So it doesn't just apply to business, it applies to everything. Highly recommend the book.
I'm piggybacking off of that. I read a book, Atomic Habits. Most people probably read that. It says focus on the system and not the goal. So most people have this goal like, I'm gonna run a 5K, and then you run the 5K and then you're done with it and you're like, I'm just gonna go back to all my old habits. But if you focus on the system of, I'm gonna wake up every day at 5 a.m., drink a protein shake, go on a run, and you incorporate that in your everyday life, then you'll continue that system even after you've completed the goal. So, it's focusing on your system instead of the goal. Because then you get to the goal and you're like, okay, now what? But if you already have that system in place, then it's,
I think that's super important too in business, because it's like, as you coach agents especially, it's like, my goal was whatever, X, right? They make it, just like you said, and then it's like, well, now what? Well, you said this was gonna make you happy, right? Like, I wanna make 100,000, that was what you wanted, and that was gonna make you happy. Now that doesn't make you happy anymore, so now it's the next thing. Now it's the next thing. It's always that next level, which is awesome, right? Because it helps you grow, but I think there has to be something deeper to that. And I think that's where like the vision boards come in, and why are we doing what we're doing? Kind of full circle. Any other thoughts on it? Eric?
Your fear of failure is not your fault. And because if you grew up in the US school system, you've been taught since the very beginning that the absolute worst thing that you can do is fail. Right? And if you continue that mindset throughout the rest of your life, you will continue to lead a life inside a little box that only allows you so much freedom. You have to get outside of that box. You have to get over that fear of failure.
A great example of this that just happened at the top of the Hancock building with my daughter. My daughter's very high D, disciplined, type A, right? Never put. No idea. Like, so we're sitting there, can't see anything, right? It's just it's a blank wall of just white nothingness because the cloud, like the smoke came in or whatever. So we're sitting there and all of a sudden they go grab some drinks for us to sit down and, chat. And she's like intently on the phone, on her cell phone. Like, I can tell she's like upset, but like kind of aggressive. Don't know where she gets that from either. And I just like mouth to her, and all of a sudden I hear is, I turned in the assignment before I left, so you have to grade the assignment, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. This is 10:30 in the morning, or whatever time it is. She called her friend, said, "Can please give the phone to Mr. Johnson." She's got him on the phone because she has an A- in his class. And I laughed. I literally laughed in her face, actually. And I was like, what are you so upset about? And she's like, Mom, if I get an A-, I'm not going to get into the school that I need. And I turned in the assignment. It's like, okay. Like, and she's like, this isn't funny. This is not funny. I'm like, but in her mind, that was like the end of her whole life, not having a 4.0. And it was, to me, just, I mean, like once you get into college, and it doesn't matter, right? But it's so true that like the school system teaches you. She got the A, he graded the paper, we're all good, everything was calm, but also very persistent. I was like, I would have never. She's like, I've emailed you twice and you haven't responded. I'm like, you emailed them at 8.
Derek, you sound like a coach there, right? Like you thought about this stuff quite a bit on it. Do you have an idea of like, what are some little failures that we can like set ourselves up with so that we're used to failing? Like, how do you do that? How do you get used to it?
This morning I received an appraisal on a house that I'm buying, telling me that the after repaired value of our project was going to be, I think, $250,000 less than what I see the value as being, which is significant. I don't care, because clearly that appraiser doesn't see it as I see it. And when we're talking about perspectives, I think you brought it up earlier. I think it was you that brought it up earlier. I don't know that there's like a right or wrong answer when it comes to pretty much everything. If you take a minute to think about the perspective that other people are looking at it in. And because it might not be right for my system or the system, it doesn't mean it's not right for that person's system or what they're thinking of when they're explaining their answer. I don't know, I've been thinking about that a lot lately as it relates to like my rental property that's not leasing out, right? Is it price? Is it condition? It's probably a combination of all those things. And clearly, when the tenant comes through and they see the property that isn't what they expect it to be, they're choosing not to rent it. And it's not that they're dumb or don't get it. It's that that's their perspective on the house. And I can tell them that, you know what, we're going to do some painting and it's clean, and well, it's not, and it's not, so it doesn't work. So with the low appraisal, I truly don't care that that appraiser doesn't see the value as I see it, because he's coming from a perspective of Little Canada versus Edina, and he clearly doesn't see the value the same way I see the value. And I don't care, because I know that the value will be the value when we get to it. And it's hard to convey that with pictures and drawing. So that was my failure earlier this morning. Don,
And he's
from it.
still happy today.
In
Like,
like-
we've moved on.
It was like
mentally
20
from it.
seconds it took me to get over that. So
One second, I think that's the important point though. Also is how long does it take you to get over the failure? Are you gonna sit and dwell on it for months? Are you gonna sit and dwell on it for days? Are you gonna sit, reflect on it and figure out what you did wrong and then get over it? Because the more you sit and dwell on it, the more it festers and your mind just goes to a really bad place and nothing positive comes from it. So give it its moment and then move on. So fail, move on. Fail, move on.
the appraiser is not wrong, by the way, because using the comps that he has in front of him, the value kind of looks like the value he presented. So he doesn't know that the other houses that are doing this in that area are homeowner projects and the people are living in them and they're not reselling them right away. So the comps aren't there to support the value that I know.
Interesting. I mean, Derek's got the confidence to say that he's just gonna work through that failure, you know? Just wanted to share that it was, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, I sent the ALC a note. I debated a long time before sending it, just telling them that they have had some experiences in May that were not great. So I had 5 transactions that fell through in a period of 10 days. And that's a little extraordinary. I mean, you're gonna have those failures, 1 or 2, you know, every couple of weeks, and then you're gonna get back and don't get back going. But after reflection, this is what I realized, that I've been doing this year 25 now. And I've been doing this long enough to know, especially with the team that we formed with Sherry, and how smooth our transactions can be in the process. If we keep doing what we're doing, I can be successful, 100% guaranteed, because I've done this long. We know what we're doing. We have chosen not to do what we know what we're doing every single day consistently, because we are forging our way into a little bit different market. And I've realized that market requires acknowledging a much higher risk of failure, because we don't know everything about it. And we're stepping out and we're learning every single day, and we're trying to improve every single day. But the stuff I've done consistently for 25 years don't need to keep learning every single day, don't need to improve every single day. It's a process. It works. It's worked. It's going to work. It's this new adventure. So that's the key, is that those 5 things that happened in our normal real estate business at failure, have easily said, stop, focus on what you know best, focus on what you've been doing for 25 years, and you will not fail. But instead we chose, well, let's keep forging forward. Let's keep taking on this higher risk of failure. But you have to have that built confidence level in the beginning and the trust that, you know, you're going to put through it. choice. It's a choice. It's a difficult one. It's the harder choice, but we think that the end result is gonna be beneficial.
Can't remember who it was, but on your point of, how long do you dwell on it? Remember someone said, I've had a horrible day. That's responses. No, you had a bad 2 minutes that you let ruin the rest of your
Yep.
whole.
That's
You know,
really good.
and I think that sometimes I catch myself, about it. Hey. And I can see it in other people, but sometimes in yourself, it's harder to see. Hey, I just gotta let this go.
Or allowing other people to affect you for an
Right.
entire day. I talked about this on vacation. I was in some pretty intense text conversation emails that made me pretty upset because the people, I care about them. Like them being affected affects me. And my daughter just looked at me and she was like, morning sucks. She's like, all you're worried about is whoever's calling or texting or emailing you about what they're upset about. And this was in Chicago. And I was like, she's right. And it was not because, it was because I cared, but I didn't need to talk about that at that moment. Like I was gone and it affected her and the moment that we had until about noon that day where I was completely out of it. Like I was out of sorts. And she was like, you done now? Like, who raised you? Like, are you done now? And it like, really, I needed to be done. I needed to let it go and move on. So.
How do you do that? Like, I think I think a lot of people know that, right? Like, don't allow other people's emotions to like affect yours. We did an exercise as a team yesterday where I asked everyone for their top 3 strengths. I asked everyone for their top 3 weaknesses. Every single person had in their weakness that they absorb other people's emotions. And it had me thinking when I left, like, 'cause I was looking for basically like, where are weaknesses that I as a leader can focus on? And I literally left going, I don't know how to help them do that, except for them to just keep doing it and learn themselves.
I think there's a lot of self-reflection in that, right? So for me, sometimes I don't have feelings and then I just get angry or that's feeling, right? I was actually telling Kevin this, like Kevin's known me for a while and I was like, I feel like I'm growing up. Sounds weird as being the leader of an office, but I think you have to realize, why did you let it affect you? Number one, what's the reason, right? Number one is usually something's going on with you personally, and you either need them to like you or feel something from you, and you feel like because they said that, that's not going to happen, right? So it's the why. Like, why did that affect you in that way? And then after you figure that out, is what can you do? Can you make it better? Can you fix it in some way, right? And if it's completely out of your control, recognize that and then just set that aside, right? And maybe even comment on it like, I heard you, I understand, I don't know exactly what you're saying, that makes you feel, and I can't do anything in this moment, and then you move on, right? Like, but I think the biggest thing why we allow that is because of where we're at mentally.
That's another piece. Kevin already answered the question that you just asked, in my opinion, because he said, no, Kevin, you let 2 minutes of your day ruin your entire day. Somebody told Kevin that. You have a team around you. And so have somebody else there. You know, I can't even tell you how many times I've heard Sherry say, are you finished yet? Are you done with the poor me? Are you, that is,
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate you.
But that's a necessary thing to have somebody who, self-awareness is one thing. It's a hard thing of acknowledging Kevin's weaknesses, Kevin's strengths, Kevin acknowledging mine, Sherry, Rick, Jordan, Sherry, Rick, all of that is super important. And rely on those people and let the people on the team know, you know what? When you see something, when you see this repetitive behavior come up, please approach me on it. Her daughter clearly does that. You know what I mean? And that's a good relationship.
I think I'm gonna reincorporate, have you heard of the 5-second funeral? That you're allowed to complain for 5 seconds, let's even just say a minute, right? Then you have to do 5 push-ups, and then you have to share 5 things you're grateful for. Because by physically moving your body and then giving gratitude, you can't stay in that.
Well, here's the other piece of that. What I find in those situations where something affects you, then it's the constant complaining that happens if you don't let it go, right? And if you're gonna complain about it, you better do something about it and you better hit it head on, right? Because if you're just gonna complain, you have no right to do that without trying to fix the problem. You know, like bullying or whatever it is, right? You gotta hit it head on and say, this makes me feel this way. Please don't treat me or say that to me that way. Because I'm not gonna stand, like, it's setting a standard too. And allowing people to treat you a certain way and affect your mood, that's on you. That's on you sometimes.
And maybe I heard you completely wrong, but I thought what I heard you say is like they take on the emotions of the other people. And for that, I would say, wow, how awesome to have such an empathetic team that cares about each other and go, well, that's really good. Now, we can't always be in the spot where with one person, now we all come down, right? So how together and just talking as a team, how are we going to, today I listened to a marriage thing. And they talked about.
Yes, we are over time. If anyone needs to leave, this
Sorry.
meeting went totally off, which is fine. I feel like it was very valuable.
The numbers.
I know, I was like, even if they were just like, if I just keep talking, we don't have to go over our numbers this month.
But
But
one of the things that
Few minutes late, should be here any minute. Okay, wrap up.
one of the things that I heard on that, was, they were talking, they said, marriage is this idea that marriage is this 50-50 spot,
you could go with relationship.
relationship,
Any
whatever,
relationship.
is ridiculous. And she, I don't know if it was Brene Brown, I think. And she was talking about, she's like, me and my partner, we would go, and I'd say, I'm at 20%. That means you gotta be at 80%, right? And she said, when we both got to the spot that we're at 20%, then we need to pause and fix it because we can't operate that way. And I think that's the awesomeness about having a team that cares about each other is if you have those check-ins, is here's where I'm at. I got 20%. No worries. I got your 80. We got this. And I can't be in a spot where I'm at 20% all the time and bring that to the team because that's not fair either. But if we can identify, one of the advantages we have is people, right? And we talk about that with our KW cultures. One of the things that we have is, even if we're not teams, we have people. I got Derek, I got Rick, I got Jill, all those different pieces that if I'm stuck, well, I got someone that can
What would that
bring
look
that 80%.
like? What would that look like to do in the morning? Midday check-in and at night for a team? Or accountability partner, right? Like, hey, I'm coming into this day and I'm at 50%, right? Because we all know you might come in a day at 50% and something happens that gets you to like 110% because something just knocked it out of the park. Now all of a sudden your emotions went up here and you're ready to go. And then by 5 o'clock, you're at 20% again, right? So even if you don't have someone to check in on that, but what would that look like if you did that throughout the day of like, where am I at? Am I, and what is the consistency on that throughout a week's time or a month's time? And what are the reasons that I get up past 80%, right? Because I think it's 100% every day. We say that it's an affirmation, but that's a really hard thing to consistently be at 100% no matter who you are, right? Because your cup's not always full. It's just not. But checking in on that and just, it might be a good idea to implement that. If there's one thing that you're like, oh, I got out of this meeting, it's a good implementation of where am I at throughout the day? Jim used to do this. He used to do, if there was a sliding scale and he rated days, 0 to +2 and -2 on how the day was and how his mindset was. And he'd check and see how many appointments, like just range on where that week was.
Because I'm a football head, or I've been called a football head. I relate a lot of things in life back to my experience playing football. And the most valuable and visible position on the football field is quarterback. The second most valuable and visible position on the football field is cornerback, in my opinion. And I think the cornerback is the ultimate person to model yourself after, because cornerbacks are constantly put in the position where they are giving up valuable plays on the football. And it happens all the time because quarterbacks are passing for 300, 400 yards. And these cornerbacks, they lose all the time over the course of the game. And in 35 seconds, the next play is happening and they have to be back in the right position, performing at the absolute best they can, because that other guy is really killing it. And if they're not, they'll give up another play. And I think you just have to approach it like that. Like, okay, that happened. What's next? Because they have their next objective is fighting. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, I'm sure.
There's one other simple concept too, psychology, and this is self-awareness. That as soon as, I'll just speak for myself, as soon as I say for me, as soon as I say, you know, feel bad for me, as soon as I say to Jordan and Sherry, wow, this sucks, this is really a bummer, that is all for me. This is super important that you realize when you are feeling bad for yourself, that is to get attention for yourself. How good are you for other people when you're trying to get attention for yourself? You're not. So the longer you stay in that, the longer time there is before you can get back up, take what God has given you as your gifts in your life and take care of other people.
How that movie, being in the kitchen.
There you go.
Can I just say that I'm really grateful for this conversation? Because I don't think it's easy, and I think the one way on the end, it's definitely not easy. I know that one of our biggest things about ALC is I don't want to talk about numbers, and I don't really want to talk about failures, and I definitely don't like being held accountable. And there's been a ton of growth in that just 6 months, and there's still some heads that are getting bucked, right? Like, I mean, there's times where you don't agree with me at all on a daily basis. And yet, there's things I never thought you would share that you just shared, which I think is incredible. And I think it's amazing. And I think it's helpful for everyone. So thank you to all four of you. And the other two that aren't here, I know they would have done the same. Thank you for everybody here kind of giving your input as well. I think that's a wrap, and we can eat some lunch and then go to R&R tonight.
Are we doing a money jar for lunch? Like, is it going to anything? How's this
Oh,
working?
we forgot our tickets today. We forgot our, well, that too, but we used to, you're right, we always had the donation jar out for our barbecues.
Would it be okay with you, Jacob, if we took whatever money comes in there and we put it to the KW local fund? We do that?
I don't know why you're asking me, but yeah, man.
You're in charge. You don't know.
Kevin? Yes.
All right. So if you right now can get a free lunch, or you can take one of those cups, throw a couple bucks in it, and it will go to our ALC local fund, which goes right back to our market center with people that
Anyone
are
that's in need.
in need. Yeah, so.
It's just right here.
Awesome.
Yay.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Also, wants and needs, go to Lydia and she'll send those out later this afternoon.
Second that motion.
All in
We
favor?
didn't even start it, actually.
Give a box, give a cup.
So prepared. It's okay. I'll be prepared next week.
Tell me you moved on.
I did. I did all.
Or,
Pizza! Sure, chair right there.
Yeah.
Nobody?
Yeah, we can do that.
let's just go one of these.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got to get that on.
The top of each one, like, what kind they were.
Sure, nice job.
There. There we go. Everything's the same level. Okay.
So we can all hang out in here and eat or whatever you guys want. Oh, should I end this? You're spinning the wheel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't. Did it cover on that? No.